Welcome everyone. Welcome to the last week of the Chile 2.0. Also, the last week of tasting is a full-time DC resident. For me, that's starting next week. I will be joining you from Columbia, South Carolina, on all these recordings. So if you are watching this later, know that this is my last recording in DC. I mean, you will probably see me tasting in DC in the future, but as a full-time resident of DC, I should say. Anyways, I don't really have any other announcements besides that. Again, nothing on your end changes with my move. I am leaving tomorrow for Colombia. Yeah, just know that, I don't know, if you're thinking about inviting me out for a glass of wine or something, just know that I'm not going to be here. So that's all. But in terms of wine club goes, nothing changes. Everything's good. Have any other announcement except for one more thing, which is oh yeah, I see Dave T, your recommendation. If anybody has some eating recommendation between here and Columbia, South Carolina, I'll take, because I haven't done that research and I don't know. So let me know.
Life-changing deep fried turkey sandwich.
Life-changing. Wow. I never thought I was going to hear life-changing and a deep fried turkey sandwich in the same sentence, but I'll take the word for it. Last week, to donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club, we're donating to Beacon House, their local organization right here. So if you want to learn more about what they do or donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club, the link is right there in the chat box. Besides that, any questions about, I don't know, anything moving forward? Cool. Hearing that, let's get to the wine. Boom. This fun little video game looking label is what we're tasting today. It's the last bottle of the month, 2023 Colectivo Mutante or Mutante Invasion Pinot Noir is what we're tasting today. In case you were wondering, that Colectivo Mutante sounds maybe perhaps familiar, or the even label design looks kind of familiar, it's because we've had them before. Not this particular wine, but we featured Colectivo Mutante in the last Chile box when we did it. We featured their white wine. So they only make 2 wines, which is a white and a red. White is the PX #1. So Pedro Jimenez, which is one of the sherry grape varieties. They're usually the one that makes the sweetest sherry. If you get to the grid, if you ever wonder how we get to the lusciously sweet category, end of that sweet sugar spectrum, PX will be one of them. We had a PX not too long ago when we did the Spain box. So that, but the fermented dry and still, if you remember, that was the white wine that we had, one of my favorites in the Chile 1.0 box. But this month, we're tasting their Pinot. This is actually what I wanted last time, but we didn't have enough stock. But this time we happen to get enough stock, so that's what we're rolling with. And I really wanted to put in Pinot because I have some really, I think Pinot is one of those more exciting grapes to watch out for in Chile. For any of you who's a Pinot fan out there, I think you should put Chile on your radar. I think Chile is going to become more and more significant player in the Pinot game. It's just showing it gets better every year. So yeah, I would say go check out Chile and explore Chile for Pinot. Anyways, let's start with the map. Here you go. Here is a map of Chile. Should look pretty familiar. I've been looking at it all month. So we were in the south mostly, right? We were in Biobío Valley for the Pipeño the first week, and then we were in Itata Valley for the second week for the Los Vinateros Bravos, the Granite, Itata Valley, and then we were in Maipo Valley. Maule Valley last week, right, with the Carignan, and sticking mostly all in the south and mostly with all mission varieties because we were kind of exploring that kind of the early tradition, the early days of Chile, really sticking to the very old historic practices of vinification, right? That very first week, Bio Valley, making it the way basically they used to make 200 years ago, right? It's kind of I mean, Joe asked this question, but yeah, it's basically what we tasted on the first week of this month is probably very close to what the wines probably used to taste like 200 years ago, because actual wine making even itself didn't change all that much. And then a lot of mission varieties, pais in a very, very old, own-rooted vineyards in the south, right? And then we did a Carignan, which is another mission variety that was brought here by missionaries in the Maule Valley. And that's what we tasted last week. But there's a little bit of an influence of the modern day winemaking, right, with the mission varieties. So that's kind of like the marriage. So if we explore the kind of the true tradition in the first week, then we got the old vineyards and old variety with a little bit of modern making. The second week was still very much sticking to the tradition. And the third week was when we got to a little more French influence, with a lot more modern day winemaking, with oak being thrown on there. And that was last week. And then finally, to get to the fourth week, which is this week, so now we're looking into kind of the future, or this is currently what's happening and what I think is the most exciting part of Chile, which is Pinot. So we're moving up further north, and we're going to Aconcagua. This is where we are this week. And where this particular winery is in Limari Valley. This is where they source a lot of their grapes from. But for this one, we're in Aconcagua right here. Yeah, on the bottom of the front label it says Aconcagua. By the way, in case you're wondering what Aconcagua is the name of the highest peak in South America. It's right to east of Santiago, so hence the name Aconcagua. Santiago is right here. And then, but the fruit for this all comes from right along the basically coast. And I forgot to bring up the picture itself. Maybe I can put it right now, actually. Hold on 1 second. I think I still have it. But anyways, you don't need a picture. Remember we talked about how in Chile, there's this kind of west to east. There are three different distinct regions, right? On the west coast, along the Pacific coast, it's very cool. Even though it's much lower in elevation, it's very cool because all that Humboldt current that moves up from the Antarctica going north, and all the wind that comes off the ocean into the Chile. So there's a huge cold front that comes in that cools all the vineyards down. So even up in here in Atacama, which is where the desert is, it still gives a lot of cooling effect, and this is what makes winemaking possible. It's the same thing here in Aconcagua. Even though this vineyard is very close to it's very close to the coast, and it's only at 230 feet of elevation, so it's very, very low. But because even though it's low in elevation, because it's next to that coast, because that cold front that comes in is what makes this possible. Pinot Noir in general, notoriously a fickle grape to grow. It only really likes a cool climate, so places like Burgundy does very well. And this place is Chile, especially along the coast, has this very similar kind of influence, a same kind of effect that we have here in the United States, in California, in Sonoma Coast, right? What makes Sonoma Coast a great place to grow Pinot is because it's right along the Pacific Ocean, and all that cold air and then the fog that rolls in that cools the grapes down, even though you get a ton of the sunlight and then quite a bit of warm weather in the summertime. And it's the same thing here. Even though it's low in elevation, all that cold air coming off the Humboldt current on the west coast is what makes this cool climate variety like Pinot Noir possible, even though it's all the way up in north in Aconcagua instead of all the way down in the south. Remember, it's the southern hemisphere, so more south we go, cooler it gets. Aconcagua, as you can see in the map, is just north of the Central Valley region. This is where the initial, very first, the modern day Chile infrastructure was established by the French. So as you can imagine, a lot of that French varieties that we're talking about, the Cabernet, the Merlots, the Carmeneres, all of that, most of that is right here. And also the oldest vineyards, oldest wineries are kind of established right here. And Aconcagua is just above that. And this is also where you find some of the best, that kind of Bordeaux variety, the very archetypical Chilean wine is made pretty much right here. And as you can see right here, if you look at all the varieties that are grown in Aconcagua, I mean, every single one of these is a French variety, right? Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, right? Just again, to kind of show how much French had influenced the development of the modern day Chilean wine industry. So yeah, that's where we are in Aconcagua. Let's see. Let's see who makes this wine. Why can I skip this? Here you go. Right here, his name is Cedric Nicole, young guy. I don't know exactly how old he is. I would assume that he's probably in his 30s, maybe late 30s, early 40s. But yeah, so the winery is called Colectivo Mutante. His partner, his name is Diego Edwards, and his name is Cedric Nicole. It's a small project formed by Diego and Cedric in 2016. So we're talking about a very small project, and honestly, their wines I've always really enjoyed their wines. They're not meant to be like these like a serious, cerebral kind of wines, but it's a lot more about just kind of a enjoyment, just joy of drinking, and just kind of getting back the fun of wine. And as this label may imply. Diego owns and operates a small wine import and distribution company in Santiago, and handles the kind of marketing and sales side of the business. And for some reason, I could not find Diego's picture, but this is Cedric here, and Cedric is the winemaker. So he's the one who makes the wine. He's the one who works with the growers to source the wines, grapes. So they don't actually grow any other grapes. They buy grapes from other growers, and a lot of that comes from the Limari Valley. They work with a grower from Limari Valley, which is up north, and that's where the PX comes from, the Pedro Jimenez that we tasted, which is right up here, Limari Valley, in Coquimbo region. And like I mentioned throughout the month, the Atacama and Coquimbo, yes, there are other still wines that are grown here, but a lot of it, particularly Atacama, because it gets quite hot, it's really for pisco production. So a lot of the wine that's being made here is not meant to be consumed as a dry still product. It's meant to be distilled and made into a spirit. But so the PX that's grown in Limari Valley is also used for that purpose. They use it to make Chilean pisco. But there's 1 hectare within that grower that they work with. They thought there's incredible potential there because the soil type completely changes there. For some reason, this 1 hectare within that vineyard has a very heavy calcareous soil, which is limestone, and it is very close to the coast. So again, all that cooling effect, even though you're getting up north, it's getting warmer, because that cooling effects from the ocean, the Humboldt Current, they decide to try their hand at making dry still PX, which is exactly the white wine that we tasted. So some of Chile's most highly regarded Pedro Jimenez. Jimenez comes from the north, where the arid desert is situated. Again, to develop as much sugar as possible, which means you get as much alcohol as possible, which when you distill it, you can get as much spirit alcohol jacked up as possible. They currently make only about 500 cases a year, so we're talking about very, very small amount of wines that they make. Hence why we couldn't get their Pinot. Their Pinot is even smaller project. The PX1 is their main bottling, so their Pinot is a very, very small bottling. So the fact that we're able to get our hands on it is actually pretty cool. All primarily just it's a passion project. It's all about joy of drinking. Again, not much in the background. They are notoriously very cagey about their private life. So I couldn't find any information about their where he learned to make wine or how he got into wine or any of that. But at least to pull some of their pictures and some background about Colectivo Mutante. Anyways, what is this wine? It's something a little bit unusual for. I mean, Pinot Noir in general is not a huge thing, right? Again, Cabernet, Merlot, Carmenere, that Bordeaux blend is essentially what runs the game here in Chile. But even within Pinot, this is kind of a rare, kind of a fun one. So this is all Pinot, 100% Pinot grown on granite soil at a 240 foot of elevation, like I mentioned, very low. So small, low elevation Pinot, but because it's so close to the coast, that you are able to get that cooling effect, which is what makes this cool climate variety possible to grow here. It also, they put this through a partial carbonic, so the stemming collusion here, and then they put it through a partial carbonic for 12 days. And for those of you who are not familiar with what carbonic means, and a lot of you have gone through Boj box, so you know exactly what carbonic means. But it's essentially when you get the grapes in, it's in whole bunches. So instead of taking the berries off, you leave it as a whole bunch, and you just kind of gently stack them on top of each other, not to crush the grapes. And then you just kind of leave it there. There's also a difference between full carbonic and a partial carbonic. A full carbonic, if you're to do a full carbonic maceration, you'd actually throw a blanket of CO2 on top of those berries, and then you just make the berries sit there in an anaerobic condition, meaning no oxygen. And when you leave the berries in an anaerobic condition, what happens is all the fermentation starts from the inside. So oftentimes the fermentation is a bacterial fermentation. So the yeast, which is bacteria found on the skins of the grapes, they come in contact with the sugar that's in the must, the crushed juice of the berries. They eat up all the sugar, they piss out alcohol, they fart out CO2, and that's how alcohol is made. That's how you ferment stuff, right? That's usually how the wine is made. However, when you put it in an anaerobic condition under CO2, blanket of CO2, the fermentation starts from the inside. So instead of a bacterial fermentation, you get a intracellular enzymatic fermentation, meaning it's the enzymes inside of the berries that start eating the sugar and then start fermenting the grapes. So it starts fermenting from the inside, and the berries get really full because all the CO2 builds up, and it finally pops, right? And then the juice comes out, then it mixes it with the yeast, and it ferments even more, creates more CO2, which keeps it even more in anaerobic condition. And that process is called carbonic maceration. It did not originate from Beaujolais, but Beaujolais is a place where it's most commonly used in terms of using carbonic maceration. So a lot of Gamay do very well with the carbonic maceration. And then partial carbonic maceration is instead of actually putting CO2 on top, you just stack them on top and leave it there. And then the berries on the bottom will get crushed under its own weight, and the juice will mix up with the bacteria that's found on the skins. CO2 will rise, and then keeping it. So some of it is still oxygen, some of it is bacterial, but it will have some exposure to oxygen, but some will become anaerobic. So that's the difference between carbonic and full carbonic and partial carbonic. But the reason why you do that are twofold. So one is stylistically, you want to extract as little phenolics as possible, polyphenolics, meaning tannins, color, all these things. So oftentimes the carbonically macerated wines tend to be lighter in color and tend to have much lighter in tannin. And flavor-wise, the berries also tend to be, it's all about the fruit. So when you really want the kind of purity of the fruit, you want also the fruit character changes a little bit. So not only do you get these kind of fresh fruit, but you get these kind of almost in the wine world, we use this geeky term called high tone. So the fruit character changes to kind of like a candied confectionery kind of thing, like like a Jolly Rancher raspberry tastes very different from actual fresh raspberry. Those are two different flavors, but you end up getting some of these kind of like the confectionery, candied fruit and aromas as well. But that also depends on how long you put it on carbonic for and all of that. There are different things that go in there. But in general, when you hear this word carbonic maceration, just expect low in tannin, just high, really poppy, bright fruit. And then that's usually what the wines are made for. So oftentimes the carbonically macerated wines are not meant to be aged for a huge long time. It's meant to be just, enjoyed for youthful fun and joy. And that's exactly what this wine is. So again, this is 100% Pinot, partial carbonic for 12 days. and all spontaneous fermentation. There's no yeast pitched here, and everything's done in stainless steel tank here. So what we're talking about is really, really pure kind of varietal expression of Pinot Noir in Chile. Does have a little bit of carbonic thrown in there. There's a lot of criticism. So people who don't like carbonic, they have a lot of criticism about how carbonic erases this concept of terroir, right? That sense of place that French talk about. Because honestly, like the wines that are made carbonically in South Africa versus Rhone versus Beaujolais versus Chile, they all kind of have the similar vibe. You do lose some of that. But, you know, in general, the wines are just, yeah, again, really poppy and bright. So yeah, this is just all about the pure varietal expression of Pinot Noir. And that's basically what we have tonight. Any questions about anything I just went over before we get into the wine? I know we got a little geeky and technical there for a second. Also, I'm also relying on you guys for tasting today. Oh, well, I mean, I do have the wine, but the bottle that I got was the one that I tasted with my rep at this point almost a month and a half ago through Coravin. But he also sampled it to some other people, so like he had like half a bottle left. So this is also a testament to Coravin. Like, but to me, this tastes a little different from what I remember tasting it the very first time. It seems a little bit darker. It seems a little bit not muted. It's still very expressive, but like mine just feels a little bit more, a lot more bass notes. It's not as poppy and bright as I remember this. So I don't know if that is a function of that Coravin being under the nitrogen for a month and a half. But yeah, so you guys tell me if like what I'm describing seems a little different from what you guys are tasting, just in case. I'd love to see if there is. But any questions before we get into tasting? Excellent. Let's taste the wine. Who's take the appearance?
I can.
All right. So, yeah.
It's the easiest one.
Mm-hmm.
I have not a very good wine glass. But
All right. Clarity.
it looks like slightly hazy.
Yeah, I know that this wine does get cartridge filtering. Not fine, but it does get so light filtering. But yeah, I mean, for intents and purposes, it looks pretty clear to me.
But not faulty looking.
Not faulty. Not like yeah, not yeah. Also, I mean, again, this is the grid and how limited it is. But I don't know how on the appearance, on the clarity alone, that you can call a wine faulty. Like, are they just saying?
That's a smell thing.
Yeah, if it's like, are they just saying it's cloudy, then it's faulty? Like, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, I suppose if you got a brown if you ordered a bottle of 2024, you know, Sancerre, you know, and then it showed up with an amber color, I suppose within that you can tell that
there's something wrong.
Yeah, something had gone right. But
well, they shouldn't have served it to you.
Exactly. All right, intensity.
So it's pale for a red, but like I guess in the spectrum of wine, like a medium.
Yeah, I mean for red, for intensity, I would call this probably pale myself. I mean, I'm also under very bright light, so maybe it's different, but I can see my keyboard letters very, very clearly through the middle.
Yeah.
So I'll call this pale. But you know, somewhere between pale and medium, maybe lower medium, but yeah, I'll call this pale. Or for the, if I were in an exam setting, I'll call this pale. But again, this is exactly what carbonic does. Right? Like it extracts very little of the phenolics, which is anthocyanin, which is the color compounds, is one of them. Color.
So this, like, to me, looks like between purple and ruby.
Yeah, I call this ruby. Yeah, for sure. Any other observations?
Nope, no bubbles.
No bubbles.
I don't, there's no sediment in mine.
Yep, no sediment, no bubbles. You shouldn't get sediment on this one just because it's been filtered here. I'm actually pretty how translucent is given that it hasn't been fine, but just the filtering alone, it got it this translucent.
I
yeah.
guess as I say that, and my reading glasses are on, I see like a little bit on the bottom, but not much at all.
Of like sediments?
Yeah.
Oh.
I hope my glass isn't dirty. Oh no. I think it's the bottom of my glass. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I mean you shouldn't see sediments on this thing because it
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's you get to pick the next person for the nose.
Does anyone want to do the nose?
I'll do it.
Dave too.
I like a volunteer.
I would say this is clean.
This one is clean. This one is down.
From an intensity perspective, this is between medium and medium plus for me.
Yeah, like I'm getting it right there, which is yeah, like 1 or 2 inches. Yeah, I'll probably put this on medium plus as well. But yeah, somewhere between lower in the medium plus, higher in the medium for sure. Aromas, ooh, pretty good.
There's some honeysuckle on this for me.
Little floral things, yeah.
Yeah, maybe chamomile.
Little pretty. Yeah, to me this is like I don't know. I guess I'm like rose petals too, but like yeah, there's a touch of like a floral kind of a pretty thing, ethereal kind of thing going on. Okay. Green fruit, citrus, stone fruit, tropical.
Nope, all red fruit for me.
Yep, exactly. So this is where are you getting only red fruit? Like so right now, I remember this wine being very, very red fruit driven, but right now in my glass, I'm getting some black fruit. And I don't know, again, that's
I mean, not on mine, but
is anybody else getting some black on theirs, or are you guys all very much like red on this thing?
Some black.
I get
You
a
got some
little black cherry. Yeah.
Okay, little black. Okay, yeah,
Maybe like
I do remember
plum-
this being
plummy.
a lot more red fruit driven, but I do get little black right now. So we can agree this is mostly red fruit driven, maybe a like touch of black thrown there. Call out some red fruit and black fruit, Dave.
okay. I don't get the black fruit, but I trust my colleagues. I mean, there's maybe a little herbaceousness on this somewhere, maybe like the tomato leaf side. From
No touch.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know what a black currant leaf smells like.
Before we get to that, how about the nature of the fruit here?
Oh, I think it's fresh. It is not dried or cooked to me. It's very fresh.
Okay, so this is what I was going to ask as well. I also remember this wine being just very fresh, poppy, bright when I first tasted it. Right now, I get a little bit of like oxidative, little bit of like stewy kind of a thing going on. Is anybody else getting that, or is it just me? Ish. But mostly still fresh. Like to me, it's still very fresh, but I just get a like touch of that like little oxidative stewy thing.
It's not oxidative for me, but it's not bright fresh. It's like ripe fresh.
Ripe fresh. Okay.
A little of that like strawberry rhubarb pie kind of thing.
Okay.
I guess you could call that stewed in a way.
Okay, like a cooked berries. Okay, cool. All right, and then Dave, you say you get a little bit of some sort of
tomato leaf. There's something herbaceous on this.
Savory.
I don't really get much on the herbal side.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit on the peppery, but not a whole lot.
Yeah. A whole lot of spices and everything. Any minerality?
Not really.
Yeah, me neither. I don't get a whole lot of rocks on this thing. It's just like, to me, this is like pure fruit. Like this is very like the fruit side of Pinot is basically what we're looking at. If it was grown in a very sunny place, but that gets cooled down. So kind of makes sense. Like you get some of this kind of bright poppy thing, like the almost cooked, like the strawberry rhubarb pie kind of thing that Joe's talking about, the carbonic thing. But then kind of some of that black fruit that Charles was kind of talking about, really ripe fruit because of all that sunlight that comes in Chile, right? And then, but this kind of freshness, the red berries, all of that is from the cold current that comes in. So like it does reflect the place, which is great. Any secondary, any tertiary things going on here?
Not really for me.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very primary, fresh, all of that. Excellent. All right, Dave, you get to pick the next person for the palette.
Well, we're gonna do volunteers again. But I haven't seen Charles in a long time. You want to do palette, Charles?
Oh,
Sure.
Mr. Collins Chase.
All right. I'm gonna have to refill, but
It's a true hardship.
though fruity, the wine is dry.
Yep. A lot of fruit, but bone
I
dry.
would say, I don't know, I always think my spectrum may be off, but to me, this is not very high in acidity. It's not high enough in acidity for me. So I would say maybe like low end of medium for acidity for me.
That low.
Although
I would call this medium. I agree with you. It's not like screaming hot, but I would call this a low end of medium. Like to me, this is like register as like a high end medium. Yeah, I wouldn't even go as a low end of medium plus. Yeah, I would just call this a high end of medium. I would call this medium as well.
yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to call it an exam, I'd call it medium. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's not. And now I'm out of wine, so I'll walk
Okay.
and talk. But
This is
I
probably
don't
one of
know.
the least
I feel
acidic
like mine
wines.
is. I feel like mine is drinking a little like darker and older than maybe yours is. Like I'm not getting a lot that's super bright on this bottle, which is kind of interesting. I mean, this drinks like a Sonoma Coast Pinot.
Yeah.
Like it's not super high. It's got acidity, but it's not super high in acidity.
Yeah.
Tannin, I mean, I guess medium. It's maybe medium, again, low end of medium.
Not a whole lot of tannin here, and you shouldn't get a lot of tannin. I mean, this
No.
is carbonic after all, so it's not meant to be extract a lot of it. I would call this like, honestly, to me, hold on, let's see. There's some there, but yeah, I'll call it some medium minus actually.
Mid minus, yeah. Alcohol.
Try to pull out a percentage. What do you think is this percentage if you were to guess?
Oh, I don't know. 12 and a half or 13.
Yeah, I was gonna say 12.5. Yeah, 12.9. So yeah, exactly. There you go. 12.5, 13. Okay. That's right in medium. Body?
Yes, medium.
Yep.
And
yeah, lower than medium, higher than medium minus. It's not like super full bodied wine here, but like, yeah, I'll call this medium as well. So, Moose, we don't have to talk about flavor
No.
intensity.
I'm out of wine, but from what I recall, I guess I'd say, well, let me get some. Let me do it fair. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm getting a, this is like very distinctive, like stewed oxidative edge. I think it's just that this wine has been, even though it's been Corbin, it has been open for like a month and a half at this point. So.
I don't know. Call it medium.
Yeah, it's like right in that split for me too. It's like I can go either medium plus, I can go medium, but yeah, I think it's like right in that middle. Just kind of like on the nose too. It's like right in the middle between medium.
I feel like if there were more stuff going on, I'd call it medium plus, because you'd have something else hit you. But since it's all the same thing hitting you, it's like, it's a little persistent at the sort of medium. But flavor characteristics, call it primary. The sort of, I guess, getting more like not stewed. I don't disagree with Joe's call at all. I think that's a good call. But since I'm getting like more stewy fruit, it almost kind of gives you almost like some secondary stuff, like a little bit of oak influence or something like that. But I mean, it's just like, for me, it's tough to disaggregate the like fruit from other stuff because there's a lot of fruit.
Yeah. Is anybody else getting as much stewed fruit as Charles is getting? I mean, I'm definitely getting some on my glass, but
It's not stewed.
know,
It's not like light and bright, it's just maybe a delta between what you're talking about and what I'm drinking. But it's not. I wouldn't call this wine like light and bright. It's kind of like
okay,
a little bit less agile.
has a little more base, a little more chunk in
I
the trunk.
planted like an hour ago, and it's changed pretty rapidly over that time. So,
Mm.
do with it.
Which way did it go?
It definitely got a little more stewed, and a little darker.
Yeah.
And less bright pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's probably closer to what I yeah, because when I first tasted this bottle, it was literally fresh bottle off the top, and then I remember being like really bright and poppy, and then now I'm like, well, like to your point, Charles, it's like very like Sonoma Cozy.
Yeah,
right now in my glass.
It tastes nice. I
mean, which is good. Yeah, I'm not saying that.
I'm guessing it's a hell of a lot cheaper than like a $70 bottle of flowers, right? Like the Sonoma Coast wines are like, do you really love one thing a whole lot? We'll give you a lot of it for $70. It's like no thanks. This is a nice bottle of wine, but it's not like light and bright. And finish, let's see. I give it a mid plus.
You know what? I pour myself a new glass. I'm gonna change my call on that flavor intensity on the palate to medium plus. It seems right there. Yeah, and then the length. Yeah, I'll again right between the medium plus, but being generous, I'll call this medium plus as well.
Yeah, I mean it finishes strong.
Yeah. All right, bring it home for us. How good is this wine? Justify it, and would you age it?
Okay. I guess we've called mostly sort of between medium, mid plus. I'd say there's probably not a lot of different things going on. I'd call it a good wine. If I were being generous, I guess with the sort of mid plus calls, I could give it very good. And I would say aging it, I wouldn't age it. For me, there's not enough alcohol or tannin, and the fruit will fall off, and it'll just be weak fruit, weak acid, weak tannin wine. So I probably wouldn't age it. I'd give it like, you could keep it for 3 years, and that would be about it.
That's exactly what I call it. Yeah, balance. Call it medium to somewhere between medium plus on the intensity. The complexity is kind of medium, right? Like it's all the primary, but it's not super high. And there's no secondary, tertiary. Even within the primary, we're talking about really the red fruit, touch of black, kind of stewed. Things are going on. And then the length, we called it, somewhere again between medium plus. So we got one medium and two between medium and medium plus. So we're landing anywhere between good and very good, depending on how generous you are. You can go very good or good. I think both of them are very, very reasonable call for this wine. And for aging, exactly. Not enough tannin, not enough acid. This is, again, the beauty of this wine to me is the freshness. The fact that it is bright, fresh, youthful. I don't think you want more stewed, more non-fruit things going on. Again, it's kind of carbonic, just that's the whole. And then it's also the mission of this winery. All the wines that they're trying to make are meant to be this kind of young, fresh, like enjoy it now, joy of drinking kind of wine. So yeah, and then, but I wouldn't think that this wine is gonna sharply drop off anytime soon. So I would say 2 to 3 years. Yeah, I'd be perfectly fine drinking over the next 2 to 3 years. But yeah, drink it now. Pop it open and drink it.
I wish I had like some duck.
Yeah, you'd be good. Duck wine.
If I had something with some fat, like it doesn't have a ton of tannin, but like to like match up to the fruit, I think I'm just drinking it without having eaten dinner. So it's probably not the deal.
Yeah, I would say like duck, pork, any kind of like fatty, but like not like super red meaty kind of
fried turkey sandwich.
Fried turkey sandwich would be fantastic with this. Absolutely. Maybe I keep the rest of this bottle, like pound it with a fried turkey sandwich in my window.
How did you make a fried turkey sandwich? I'm curious. Did you fry a turkey or did you take
No, it's a deep fried.
deli
Like
turkey
there's a
and
whole
fry it?
chain of these in Southern North Carolina, Charles, and it's like it's deep fried turkey sandwiches.
Okay. I was curious if you just took deli meat and then fried it on your stove.
I mean,
Well, because when
I'm not
we cook-
above
when
that,
we cook
Charles. I'm
ham,
not above it.
do you guys have ham? Like, and you cut the ham and then you just fry it on, like fried ham sandwich. I mean, that's delicious, right? But
Yeah,
that's like,
fried ham, fried bologna. Yeah, that's delicious.
yeah, for sure.
When
Okay.
when you first mentioned a fried turkey sandwich, in my mind, I went like Monte Cristo, and it was like a turkey sandwich, whole thing in the deep fryer.
Oh,
Oh,
I think
man.
road trip to this place, it is amazing. So there's like 4 or 5 of them in Southern North Carolina, right before the South Carolina border, and that'll probably about be when you're hungry, and it's worth
okay.
it. Yep.
All right.
Can I just say I've never heard the words fried turkey sandwich before, and now we have 3
neither.
different potential delicious fried turkey sandwich versions, and I'm like into all of them. Sounds fantastic.
Also, yeah, this idea of, I guess you would have to batter it. There's no way you can just deep fry a sandwich. So you batter the
No.
full
It's
sandwich.
just a deep fried turkey.
Oh,
And,
I know what you're saying, but
No,
like,
in my
this is Chile,
imagination, it's like French toast or like Monte
I
Cristo.
mean, listen,
Yeah.
I didn't explore the whole menu, but it was just the turkey that starred.
I
But
feel like
I mean,
there's a
white
special
turkey meat
place in
needs
hell.
white turkey meat needs help.
well, it's the Carolinas, so there's a lot of help.
So if you deep fried a turkey sandwich, what would you have on it already? You wouldn't have the
Gravy.
lettuce on there.
100%. You
But
gotta,
no,
you gotta.
you wouldn't have all the accoutrements, like, right? You wouldn't like mayonnaise the sandwich and then you put the turkey in the bread
Of course.
and then
not.
maybe the
No, I
cheese.
think it was still mayonnaise. Just
I would
add
do it.
more fat in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you would take it out of the fryer and you would could you add lettuce? Because that would be, you want like a fresh note. to
Yeah.
the
No.
sandwich.
No. Yeah. Fat iceberg lettuce. That'd be weird. Yeah.
I
No, but,
mean,
like,
just
you
look
can't
at the
fry the
menu,
lettuce,
and
you
I
have to
guarantee
stick
you're
the
gonna
lettuce
want
in.
dinner, Charles.
I'm
It's
kind
a
of curious
with that.
about this.
it's a fork and knife sandwich for sure.
Yeah. It's a fork and knife. Pour the gravy over a sandwich. In my opinion.
Does anyone make this? Like, this should be like the 6-foot sandwich. And people would be like, why is it only like half a foot? And be like, yeah, you don't get it.
I feel like it's just one of the things you will find at Guy Fieri's restaurant. For some reason, I don't know this for a fact, but I can picture it at Guy Fieri's.
So I went to a
It was-
bar this weekend with a buddy of mine, and they had a bunch of different like things behind the bar, and like multiple things were Free Palestine stickers, and then one was a signed photo of Guy Fieri. I was like, this place is so delightfully weird. I don't know what to make of it. Like, yes, Free Palestine, also diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Yeah. The triple D's. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's interesting place.
All right. Before we devolve further into deep fried turkey sandwiches and Guy Fieri, let's wrap this all up. Let's play everybody's favorite game. Oh, before we go there, by the way, did everybody like this one? By the way, did anybody not like this one? Just out of curiosity.
I was gonna say that what other people were getting as stewed, I felt like Dave T's call about like tomato leaf. I felt like that note was coming out more as it opens up a little
Little
bit,
savory touch. Okay.
getting more vegetal and a little bit less fruity.
Yeah.
But to me, it wasn't getting stewed or.
Yeah. I mean, it also makes sense, right? Like this is partial carbonic, so which means there's stems included while the wine is fermenting inside it. This is a fully carbonic, that'd be one thing. So there is some crushing of the inclusion of stems in there. So there's some of that spicy leafy thing. Like totally makes sense. But yeah, for me, it doesn't come off as that like savory thing to me. Like I still get a lot of, like to me, this is like pure fruit. It's like pure varietal Pinot in glass. Okay, let's play everyone's favorite game. To Charles's point, to Sonoma Coast to $70 Pinot Noir versus a Aconcagua Chilean Coast Pinot Noir. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf, and how much would you be happy paying for it on a retail shelf? We called it good to very good. Drink it in the next 2 to 3 years. Meant to be aged, not meant to be aged. Quick and dirty kind of thing. From Chile. How much do you think this is? Ooh. Let's see, 22, 22, 25, 30, 20, 24, 24 to 26, 25, 26. And the winner is Mr. Charles Collins Chaser himself. This is exactly $25 in a retail store. I'd say for $25, I think this is solid.
The quality.
It's a fantastic deal at $25.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys remember in 2008 when Sonoma Pinot was $25? It was great.
No.
It was a great era of wine.
Did they
Now it's
sell it
like,
at Trader Joe's at that time?
I used to buy at the Safeway in Chinatown, J Vineyards Pinot Noir, which is a very nice, they're great, they're a great producer, for like $26, $27 a bottle.
Yeah.
And now
Forget
that
about
stuff's probably like $42 a bottle. It's insane. Yeah, that's a great deal at $25. I don't love it. For me, it needs to be like lighter and brighter, but like it's a great bottle of wine. And at $25, it's a phenomenal bottle of wine.
Yeah, so this is actually worth talking about as well. So thanks for bringing this up. So, right, Pinot Noir grown in many different places, right? Reference point being Burgundy. A lot of people talk about Burgundy being the greatest Pinot Noir or the greatest expression of Pinot Noir exists in Burgundy, France. Much colder, climate-wise is continental. I mean, they struggle with ripening their grapes. It's a very, very cold place. Now, you compare that's old world style, even in Germany, right? Very cold place. Pinot Noir, Spätburgunder, very cool climate. Pinot Noir, stylistically, kind of what Charles was talking about, much lighter, less fruit, higher acid, more structure, more linear kind of a thing. Now you come over to the New World. Let's talk about some places. Sonoma Coast, very well known for Pinot Noir, but much more fruit. Fruit character gets darker, right? A little bit less acid. Body gets fuller, a little bit higher in alcohol. All these things happen. Chile, very similar place in terms of a climate, kind of what's happening along the coastal influence of the wind into a Pinot Noir. This is undoubtedly, to me, a new world wine, right? Like if you were to blind this, there's no way you would ever put this on Burgundy. However, it is also distinctively different from Sonoma Coast. Yes, we use Sonoma Coast as a reference point. This is drinking a lot like Sonoma Coast, but to me, there's a difference there. Like to me, Sonoma Coast also has a much richer, deeper, even bigger, and also there's some winemaking there. Sonoma Coast uses a lot more barrels, sometimes neutral, some even new, but there's none of that here. So to me, the fruit character is different. The expression is a little bit different, even though it's all New World, it's different. So again, this is why I say about if you're a Pinot lover, and then you want to explore some other places, I do think Pinot in Chile is an excellent place to explore. On top of that, I mean, just the value proposition, right? I mean, we call this $25. Like, where else are you going to find this quality Pinot at $25 these days? You know, like, so
that's
the fact that
like, what would this cost if it was in Oregon or Washington State? Which, if you'd blind tasted this for me, would have been that, like Pacific Northwest, right? Tastes a little bit like that to me. And this is 45, 50,
easily
$50, right? In that space. So this is a really good deal.
Yeah, easily. So this is again, hopefully this is kind of resonating with all of y'all, is that this month is like, yes, we're looking at all these different Chile kind of tradition, New World kind of expressions of different grapes, but across the board, I stand by this. I welcome anybody to debate me on this, but I really do think Chile is one of the last kind of a hidden places, not even hidden, but places to really look for excellent value. There's some incredible wines to be had at an excellent price in Chile. So don't sleep on Chile. There you go. Any questions about
decisions, as Allison did?
Say that again.
Just make the right decisions, like Allison did.
Right.
So I do have a question. So
yeah,
I know in California, like, well, we talked about this like years ago, but part of this is agricultural, right? Like they just harvest really ripe grapes. Are like, could they harvest these a little earlier with a little higher acid and get a slightly less opulent? You know, like, is this a style? I mean, I guess they don't grow the grapes, so they just take the grapes. But like, is this like a stylistic thing?
but they're also not necessarily picking it any later than they would in any
Right.
other place. Yeah,
Sure.
they're picking at the right, the kind of the right condition, the similar condition as you pick anywhere else. It's just that it gets there because of right? Like that kind of three things I was telling you about in ripeness. There's a sugar ripeness, there's a flavor ripeness, and there's a phenolic ripeness.
Yeah.
All those things is really easy to reach the kind of optimal ripeness, all of that across the board in places like Chile, as opposed to when you go to Burgundy, that gets really difficult, right? Because like the weather is.
That's kind of my second question is like, you know, I've been fooled so many times. Like I like Burgundy a lot, but I'm not gonna, you know, I'd like to retire someday, so I'm not gonna drink a bunch of Burgundy. But like everybody's always saying, oh, this is very Burgundian. And I drink it and I'm like, no, it's not. Like they're never correct. It's always like very Californian. Like very fruity and opulent. Like why are Germans?
Are you talking about like Burgundy now, or are you talking about
no. Like
10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Everywhere else it's not Burgundy. People are like, oh, this is a very Burgundian Sonoma.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very
Like
Burgundian.
Oregon, Willamette Valley. Yeah.
Well, so Oregon used to have some, but now those bottles command such a high price. Like if you spend less than $40 a bottle, you're drinking basically like Northern Sonoma Pinot.
Yeah.
So like, why is it so hard for people? Like, and I get why people are saying it's Burgundian, because Burgundian makes you be able to sell it for more money. But like, why is it so hard for everywhere else in the world to make Pinot that tastes like restrained and less opulent than Burgundy?
I mean, I think it's both the terms of the weather, the climate, but also the soil. And also, they've just been making it there for fucking so long there.
Yeah.
And no other places have just figured out exactly how to work with it. Doesn't have the understanding of their land as much as the Burgundy does, or the people in Burgundy do.
And then my only other point is just not a question, but just seeing Joe as like a benevolent Bond villain in the dark, pouring himself a glass of wine out of a decanter. And I'm like, fuck yeah, this is awesome.
Do you have a white
That's
hat?
more of a function of my 2013 MacBook Pro camera.
No, I just love you. Did you decant this wine?
That's an easier explanation than I'm just cheap. Don't want to get a new computer.
But did you decant this wine?
Yeah, well, I first opened it and I was like, it tasted like pencil. I was like, after it was 30-minute warning, I was like, no, this has got to go.
Joe K, always doing something cooler than everybody else on Wine
I mean,
Club.
also, is this your work Zoom vibe? Like, this is how you take your work calls? It's just like a dark and mysterious.
Well, no, I can't use my work computer anymore because of the Doge. So I've pulled my MacBook out of the closet.
All right. Negative.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, Bill?
Would you do white wine in a carbonic maceration, or would that make it too dark?
Interesting.
See, Phil, this is the kind of the moment where I just fucking peak the fuck up because it's so nerdy, so geeky, and I am so proud you asked that question, because that's exactly the question that I've been asking around. It's like, why is that we don't ever see white carbonic? Has anyone ever tasted white carbonic? I've been honestly on this thing for like 2 months right now. Every wine person that I run into, I'm like, have you ever tasted white carbonic? Why is it there's no white carbonic? Why is nobody experimenting with white carbonic? I don't understand. And to answer your question, so then no, so far I have
Color
not.
turn out too ugly to drink?
And
No, I
maybe
don't think
is
so.
it too sweet? Is that what the issue is? Because
No, I mean, you can still ferment it out dry.
There's no chance to remove. Why bother, right? Maybe it's that kind of.
Yeah, I guess the idea is that they're trying to minimize this, but that white wine can be made like that. You know, a lot of it is just direct press off the skins not to extract anything off the skins, destem it so there's no stem. So like, yeah, I mean, the whole point is not to have phenolics. So why not experiment with it? But yeah, you're totally right, Phil. I've been on the same question, but honestly, I've not gotten a satisfactory answer from anybody. Why is there no?
You know who would do it? Sebastian would do it. I hate to say it. But he would be like,
totally.
"Fuck it, let's do it. Let's see."
Yeah.
He would do
Totally.
it. You
He
should,
totally
you
would.
should you should send him a message and
It's
be like,
worth a
"Hey
dare.
man, long time no talk. Can you
Yeah.
do a white carbonic?
Yeah,
I know you
What
love
do you think
stuff
about white
that's,
carbonic?
I know you love stuff that's white. Can you do a white carbonic?
Yeah.
I will dare him the next time I'm at Primrose. Okay, everybody?
That'd be hilarious.
I know you love white labor. I'm just playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's an excellent question, Phil, because I've been wondering that myself. Yeah, no, I've not seen white carbonic. And I don't know why it's not done. I'm sure it's been done. It just got to be. There's no way that has not been done, but I just don't know of it. I
By
have not.
accident, right?
By accident or even just on purpose. I mean, people experiment around. Like it's not like such a far flung idea of like why can't we find a white make white carbonic like what? I don't know, but I have not seen any. I have not tasted it.
That's a super interesting.
If anybody comes across white carbonic, please let me know because I would love to taste it. Like I would love to talk
I
to them.
assume you've done a Google search.
Yeah. And look, and
Oh, I just found a link. It says to conclude, carbonic maceration is not typically used in white wines because of the resulting funky/earthy flavor, colored hue, and often drop in acidity.
Drop in acidity. Interesting. But
Nicholas-
carbonic reds are super high acid often.
yeah, exactly. I would have to reach out. Like, yeah, why does it drop in acidity? And then why does it cause this kind of a funky different thing? Yeah. All right.
Also, like, couldn't you blend it with like press wine and like adjust? And so, like it seems
Totally.
like you'd probably be able to get something kind of cool out of it.
Totally.
Like peach rings plus acid.
Part of this, what this article is talking about is you're going to get a lot of phenolic, which is you just said you don't get with. I don't know.
Yeah. What? Why would you get some?
Also, here's a really interesting question for me, but probably not for anybody else. So, like, when you do carbonic, are they like you could theoretically destem before carbonic, right?
Yeah, but
like you could be like really
Could.
careful, and like then you wouldn't get this, right? So this would just be a high labor white where you destem and then carbonic.
yeah, but like unless you're making like very small amount of wine, like if you destemmed it, like the weight of it will crush it. Like the airspace between the berries also ends up being kind of a cushion space, so it doesn't burst as much. On top of that, also when the berries do pop, the juices flow much easier, so minimizing amount of the kind of skin contact time, as opposed to if it was whole berries, it would just kind of sit there. Like once the berries, the juices will fill up, it will just kind of sit there in the juice.
God, that's fascinating.
So,
That's such an interesting like chemical engineering problem.
yeah, totally.
Oh man, nobody knows anything about winemaking. No one knows a fucking thing. They're making so much money and they're so dumb.
Yeah. I mean, people do understand chemistry behind it, but it's like they're doing it like in a certain way that makes money, and like the only way that.
Yeah, can I tell you, as a person who studied chemical engineering and does, I do things with people who actually understand chemistry. If this were your understanding of chemistry for any other industry, people would be like,
yeah.
Would you guys graduate high school? Like, this is ridiculous. Oh yeah, the stems.
I feel the same way about pregnancy, because like we would go to the doctor and they'd like take the image and they'd measure the baby. Oh, it's 7 pounds, and then the baby 9.5 pounds. Like you're off by 30%. Like what is that? You have no idea what you're talking about.
That's gonna be a weatherman at that point, right?
So David Corlette, our person told us a dirty secret, which is basically if the baby looks like it's going to be big, they just tell you that it's going to be smaller because they know the mom's going to freak out. So they're like, oh yeah, it looks average, 7, maybe a little above average, 7 pounds, 8 ounces, 12 ounces. And they're like, oh shit, this thing is going to fucking anchor a boat to the fucking
my
seafloor.
third kid was 11.5 pounds. It was huge.
Yeah. And they told you that it was an average 8-pound baby.
They said that one was more like 9 something.
Yeah, they round down by 2.5 pounds because they don't want your wife to freak out. and not feel capable of delivering the baby. That this is our person.
Oh,
She goes,
Oh.
she goes, I literally lied to you. My wife's like, you lied to me about like a medical thing. She's like, yeah, I thought you'd probably freak out and like not feel like you could deliver the baby. She's like, I almost didn't deliver the baby. Like it would have been good to know this information. She's like, yeah, no, I just lied to you.
Well,
Well, on that note of a greatest medical deceit, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Yeah.